Now I'm live. Good evening, Miss Carol. I am so glad you can make it. And I'll mute that guy so he's not echoing in our ears. And I really should have worked on my beard before I came on. Where my hair and makeup guy is. How are things in Michigan tonight? I couldn't remember honestly I couldn't remember if I was coming on at 7 or 7:30. So you and I may be the only ones here discussing, Carol. And I hope you're still here. Ah. That's the second time I've drop tested that today. Oh no, now you're busy. Are you going to be able to talk? Prepping for tomorrow's work and grandson visit. Ooh. I wish I had a grandson to come visit. Happy Thursday, Dean. Are you on later? And I apologize. You probably sent something out. Just doing lots. Okay. Maybe you need to take a break, Carol. Maybe you need to stop for a breath. At 9, okay. Well, I'll try to get off here before that and come and join you for a few minutes. So, have you named the new chicken, Dean, or are you gonna just let us call him George too, or George Jr., or another George? Brenda Sue Pruitt. Oops, I probably wasn't supposed to say that. And I'm really way out of my camera range, aren't I? I didn't put up any flags again tonight. This poster photo back here is one of my heroes of my youth, let's say. And still was. He passed away, unfortunately, but and tonight, Carol, the coffee is just coffee. No additives. Thank you, Carol. We might have a fifth person in. I don't know who it would be. I don't even have yet. Well, we can work on that, Carol. I guess technically I haven't had one yet tonight either. Well, Dean, you know what you should do? You should do a survey on your website or on one of your Instagram spots, and look for new names for the new rooster. We could just call him Rooster, but John Wayne kind of took that name. I don't know if I'm not really sure I could call a real chicken a rooster by name. There's Monarch Moments. Can't chat but listening. Okay. Well, we haven't really gotten started yet, so. I should have said Garrett. I don't know why. Maybe I thought they possibly were traveling in their car and they just couldn't. They can only listen and not chat. Should I look to see if they're doing a live stream travel chat? The really sad part about that cup is, Carol, it's about empty. Bob or Billy? How about Billy Bob? I don't know. That kind of wastes two names at once. Bob or Billy would be a pretty good name for a rooster. One of my favorite rooster names was Chanticleer. Did you ever see that cartoon or movie? I guess that was a movie, Chanticleer. Oh, that's true, Brenda. I forgot about that. There's another one to throw in. A Willie would work just as good as a Billy. Hey, Mike, I'm going to guess you're in from the I'm going to guess you're in from the operating room, or not the operating room. Excuse me, the hospital. No, or have you gotten home? Maybe you've gotten home by now. Well, I think I've lost some things here. Maybe not. Get back here and see what's going on. Dean said, "Oh, William is your middle name, and my grandpa was William. Was he a William middle name, or was that his first name, Dean?" I have to ask, Mike. Do you and Diana ever listen to John Cougar Mellencamp by any chance? Did they play that song at your wedding? Do you really own a pair of Bobby Brooks? I don't even know if they make Bobby Brooks now. Aha. Well, maybe that'll become a family tradition, Dean. Carry that middle name down the line. I guess I've kind of got that situation. My dad's name was, no, his middle name was Donald, and so was mine. So I guess we both had the same. I was thinking he was Roy Donald. I think Brenda, wasn't your dad's name technically Leroy, or did they just call him that sometimes? That probably wasn't really. Oh, you know what? Hang on, guys. I need to shut my door so Brenda doesn't get the echo. Okay, that should be better. But no, never Leroy. Okay. I didn't think. After I said it, I realized that probably wasn't the case. You should have told me, reminded me, Brenda. I forgot. Or yelled at me. Well, I sent out a couple of notices if anybody wants to come on tonight and, join the round table, per se. And I'll be glad to send out a link. Well, Carol, if it was used, was it Leroy or Leroy? Yeah, that's right, Brendan. He was. When you were in, what, middle school or high school? Maybe it was I guess he brought you to high school, didn't he? Leroy would be a good rooster name, Dean. That's a good point. Or Leroy. I've actually heard it pronounced both ways. Maybe that's a southern thing. I don't know. Hey, Space Mountain Dave Cantrell, welcome. Pronounced Leroy. See, that's how we would mostly pronounce it down here. But I have met guys down here who said their name would introduce themselves as Leroy, just to make sure you got it right. There was a stigma, I think, in the South about Leroy. I'm ashamed to say, kind of ashamed to say. Welcome in, Dave. How's sunny Florida today? Are you guys still hotter than Hades, or has it cooled down some? Or oh, I bet he did. I didn't even think about that, Brenda. Warm. Okay. Warm, but okay. Now, I know you're a Michigan guy, but I know you've been in Florida for a while. So warm as in pretty hot, or just warm as in comfortable? And that's probably a loaded question, too. Floridians don't know what comfortable is, I don't think. There's Michelle. Hi, Michelle. So Garrett is listening, but Michelle is talking. Cherie, welcome in. Good to see you tonight. 80 degrees. Well, that's warm. That's edging up on getting hot to me. Unfortunately, that's how it is around here too. These days. I kind of like to have a big cold winter, get about a foot of snow at least for one week. Diana, is he at home? I may have already asked that, and I may have been answered, but I can't remember. And I'm asking you because I figure I'll get an answer. If you got run over by a moose that broke more than your face, then at least they do when Mark gets run over by one. He's home good. Oh, I still do my Saturday morning, Cherie. This I kind of want this to be a little bit more serious chat than Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings are about coffee and good company and just talking about things and learning from each other and stuff like that. And this night is too. But the topics might be a little heavier than wildlife or lost treasure. But I was enjoying them just fine. Coffee and donuts, excuse me, Mike. This weekend I need to do that. Oh, well, that's true, Cherie. So I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. I really am. What did Brenda do? I poured down rain. Night was supposed to be say night before last. Oh yeah, we've got a bumper crop of acorns this year, or oak nuts, as I like to say. Okay, Mike, you do your best. You don't have to, but I appreciate the effort. Come here. Teddy has decided to join. Let's see if he didn't eat that by the sandwich I gave him earlier. Hey, bud. Come over here and say hi to everybody. Come here. Say hi to Carol. Look up here. Say hi to Miss Carol. And Cherie's on here, and the guy that likes donuts, Mike, and all kinds of people in here that might know you. Hey, John, welcome in. I hadn't seen you in a while. Is golf out of season now? Oh, that's a good boy. That's a good boy. You didn't know you were going to be on TV on the interwebs tonight, did you? You're hunkering your head down so nobody can see you. I need to get him a camera. Unfortunately, most of the time he'd just be sleeping. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Yeah. He's woke me up 3 times in the last few days. I fell asleep on the couch, nap time, and for some reason he feels like that's a good time to wake me up. He gets right up in my face, and I told Brenda maybe I'm not breathing or something. So Michelle said, so I spooked myself while out walking last night after our stream. Kept feeling someone was following me. Well, that you need to be careful about those feelings, Michelle, and you make sure nobody is following you. And what all did John say? I wanted to catch up with that too. You had lots of comments, Teddy. He left, Carol. He went to go get a smackle or something. Yeah, he let everybody see his face today because he had to come up and stand up and get some attention. That's what he does now. I mean, that's one of his things. He has done it on a Saturday morning, but rarely. And I mean, I still miss what John was up to. Somebody said, "Lucky John." Well, anyway. Yeah, I think that's too scary I don't want to scare people, but I don't know. That's what, of course, last night, that's what we were talking about, people watching you from behind and doing that kind of stuff. And it is nearing the, sorry guys, it is nearing the, this, how can I say that in a cool way? The season of spooktacular. Okay, I'm going to mute you guys again because I need to spray. I need to get a nose spray out, and I'm embarrassed to do that on here. You can talk amongst yourselves for a moment, class, and I'll be right back. No cheating. Okay, I am back. Well, having fun with Sheree and James is fun. That was a good thing. And then you said you played golf 7 straight days. What's the bag limit, John? Is down there in South Carolina. I mean, how many golfs can you go home with a night? Well, that would have been a good idea, Michelle. You could have slapped somebody across the face with that. That probably would have been effective, actually. Oh, I missed those, John. I'll have to get on there and look. Sometimes I get notices of people, friends that post stuff, and sometimes I just don't. Brenda said creeps, but I meant, oh, you've seen the show The Watcher? That will give you the creeps. Crepes. Crepes. Crepes would be right down my alley, especially if they've got cream cheese and chocolate. Well, I will definitely have to go into the Instagram and look through there for pictures. Wait a minute, how come you had dog poop and no dog? Are you picking up somebody else's for them? See, now if you were in East Tennessee, I could ask you if you were picking up maybe your own, but that's not a proper thing for somebody that lives in California, I'm sure. And Michelle said, nope, she's not watching that. I think it even scared Brenda a little bit. And she don't scare too easy. At least she claims she doesn't. I was going too fast. He couldn't keep up with me. She couldn't keep up with me. So Garrett took her and I got stuck with the poop. Okay. I guess that's right. I guess Garrett doesn't take her out when he runs, does he? All right, guys. I'm going to start. I'm going to wait. I got 4 minutes. I'm going to start at 7:30. That was crappy luck. I need a sound thing so I can, do a soundtrack so I can do a laugh track. Excuse me, so I can put that in there. That's pretty good, Carol. Yeah, and I'm telling you, when somebody sneaks up, you get that feeling. It really stinks too, Carol. I wish you could have seen that. Teddy just jumped into a box. Where are you going? Brenda, since the girls were little, I guess we've always talked to the cats like, well, I don't want anybody to think we're that crazy, but we've always asked the cats if they were going for a trip or something. Thanks, John. I'll look at those in a moment, unless you want me. Well, I don't know if I can show them, but I'll look at them here in a minute. Brenda, what is that? You got a cherry on top of a poop pile? Nope, just poop piles. Okay, you're even crappier than somebody else was up there, Michelle. Oh, really, John? Was it down in South Carolina? I think somebody told me, I don't know if it was Cherie or if it was Kay, told me they had some black squirrels down that way. I've only been through parts of South. Well, I've been to the beach. I've been to Myrtle Beach. I've never seen a black squirrel down there, though. I think they're neat looking. I mean, they're just no gray squirrel, but they just a whole different personality or something when they're black. Kind of like, they're maybe going out to a fancy dinner or something. Yes, buddy. Come on, if you're going to pop up here, you're going to have to come over here so people can see you. He was commenting on the squirrels out back. Our squirrels haven't been as bad since all the acorns showed up. Like I was saying a minute ago and stopped, we're having we're having a heck of a acorn crop this year. It's I don't think we've ever had this many in this yard. And you go outside and try to walk in the driveway, and you got to be careful they don't roll out from under you like marbles. Yeah, I don't think you have grays up there, Mike. I think you probably have mostly pine squirrels or red squirrels. They get called several things. Boomers, some people call them boomers. What? You want me to talk about you? Oh, thanks for being so sweet. Oh, that's cool, John. I have to check on that. That may be something that somebody's, released down there. I don't know if those are pretty sure those are American squirrels, but I don't know that they belong in South Carolina. I'll have to look at that. That's why they're red and white, Carol. Good catch there. I didn't think of that. That's the Canada squirrels are red and white because they've got a red background or a white. Well, maybe they've got a red background and a white star. White. No, that's the way it works, isn't it? Red with a white maple leaf. Okay, I'm going to get started now. It is 7:30 straight down. So, I hadn't been on in a couple of weeks, and I apologize for that. I've been working on some ideas and some topics, and I just took a couple of weeks off because I was 10 or 12-foot gator. Well, now that's exciting. And the golf course, it can be even more exciting. You don't go after balls in the water there, I'm thinking. Everybody stays away from the water hazard. 10 or 12-foot gator is a pretty good sized gator. That's not a boy you want to mess with. Michelle says it's time to get serious. Okay. So anyway, and I've got a list of things that I kind of want to talk about, not all at once, mind you, but different times. And they range from topics of mental health, and that's partly because of myself. And the subject we're going to kind of hit tonight a little bit is much more broad than just what we brought up. Brenda suggested it, and it's a topic that she and I have talked about a lot. And it may not sound, I'm sure some people won't think it's that serious, but when you realize, hang on just a minute, guys. I got to take a break a second. All right, I'm back. I apologize. That wasn't working. I hate to say it this way, but I put my teeth in, and then I couldn't talk anymore. Anyway, and so, but I've thought about several things, and you guys can pass on in DMs or whatever if you think they're good topics or bad. But mental health, and let me see if I pull my list up here just to give you an idea of topics I'm thinking about. These are some of the things I've written down. Being politically correct, what does it really mean? Truth, trust, values, and that probably should have a more of an explanation. Freedom, and what does that really mean to us or all of us? U.S. history from a perspective of everything is not as rosy as they say sometimes. Like to think. Patriotism, what is it really? And I have some pretty strong thoughts on that. and this may sound weird, but state boundaries, because state boundaries around the country are being questioned pretty commonly right now. You know, Eastern Oregon wants to go to Idaho, and I've heard that Northeastern California wants to go with them, and different states, or in fact, in Colorado, counties up there this year are voting to consider secession, so they can go from Wyoming over to Idaho. And I think that'll be a really good subject. I got to get more information on that. But which brought me down to the things about that, about political boundaries, economic boundaries, religious boundaries, survey crews that just screwed up, the power of owning land, one state to another, and then this topic. And this topic started out. This topic will probably expand. Hi. What do you want? You're being mighty affectionate tonight, I tell you. Anyway, I've got a couple other ones that just came up. Something Brenda threw at me last night, and something I saw just in the last few days that was being questioned, that I think is a really good topic. And we'll talk about that. We might do that next week if we're not still talking about this. But anyway, so tonight, after thinking it over and talking to Brenda about it a little bit, now I got cat hair in my nose. Ain't one thing, it's another. Hey, that tickles. Okay. That's one of the bad things that comes along with a cat. Like I said, we had an election yesterday for mayor of the city. Very low voter turnout. That's interesting. I think up here, most states right now that are having early voting, the turnout has been quite large, actually. Or they say it's been big. We'll see, I guess, how it compares. I think a lot of people vote early now if they can, because it's easier than everybody trying to go on election day. But that's just my opinion, one of my opinions. But tonight I wanted to talk about something else a little bit, and we can talk about more. But let's see. I might see if I can share the screen in a minute and pull this up. It's a topic that I've thought about for a while and kind of have known about, but it's not necessarily. Oh, it's probably not very PC either, but I think I will try to share this. Hang on just a second. Just as a reference. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? I wasn't going to do it. So I started putting together some slides tonight. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm just going to talk about it. But this is the Indigenous Women's, I would say, movement. I don't know if it can be classified as a movement yet. It's not probably that. There's probably not that many people, enough people. But and I meant to include Canada in this, so Mike and Diana, I wasn't trying to cut you guys out. I just forgot to put it in there until I had done it in the thumbnail. But that's Native women and girls that are taken and murdered at a high rate. And I want to add a disclaimer that I realize that these numbers are less than the overall total, unfortunately, which is a sad thing in this country, but they are much greater when you look at the percentages of them versus other Americans, and I don't know about Canadians, but other Americans at least. The percentage of Native women that go missing and you don't ever hear about it and nobody ever seems to look for them is quite large. And this website's really good. They've got some really good information if you are interested in. I would highly recommend you go to check it out. Native Hope. And we got a few facts here, of course. And National Crime Information Center, this is from 2016, said there were 5,712 reports of missing American Indian and Alaskan Native women and girls. That's just in the United States. And I'm not sure about in Canada. But the thing is, 5,712 reports, but only 116 of those got even logged in as a legitimate case by the U.S. Department of Justice, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I have to believe if other American women, and I don't want to just say white women versus not white women, but I have to believe that if it was anybody but Native American women, a lot more cases would get on. Now, that may not sound like very many people. And I think there's 160 some people, men and women, that go missing every year in the country, which is way too many, I think. But when you look at the percentages, the Native Americans, again, in this country is the only one I've got numbers on. They make up, I think it's rounded up to 2% of the population. So that's a pretty high number when you consider they're only 2%. Yeah, where they don't care. I agree, Garrett. It is worse. And Wind River kind of covered that in the plot of that movie. Yeah, they did. That's true, Garrett. That's true. Why are you talking? You said you couldn't talk. You were just supposed to be living or listening. And Mike's talking about it. He said that's only 34% came out to vote. Oh, that's in the election up there. Well, do you have any football players running for election? Shut up, Tim. Shut up. It's a shame that to me, it's just a shame that how little attention is paid to certain groups in this country, I guess is my main point. I remember the speaker at this one church. He belongs to this organization where they go after children around the world that are being trafficked. They are armed and work with local officials. I think I've heard that too, but I've never talked to somebody themselves who did that or was involved in that, but I have heard something similar to that. But you'd think, I guess this is the other reason why it bothers me is in this country, the richest country in the world and the one that should have the bestest of the best investigative services and that kind of thing. Something like this goes, I don't know. I don't think they get the attention they deserve, for one thing. And I'm sure somebody's going to say out there that, not necessarily in this room, but I mean in general, that they can't all get the same amount of attention. But when you see somebody disappear on a hitchhiking trip across the country, and she just happens to be blonde and blue-eyed, they get a lot of attention on the TV. And it may be on there day after day after day. And that's good. I'm glad they talk about it. Hey, Pam. Pan Tim. That's my Halloween name, everybody. Short for Phantom. And this is going on, and you don't hear about it. And I'll give a disclaimer, too. Tonight, there is a show on, I don't know, it's ABC, I think, about this exact topic. And that's not why we're doing it. But that is something we've been kind of watching, and it's just brought it out kind of in the forefront again to Brenda and I. I don't know when I bought Brenda a pair of earrings a while back that had the red hand on the face, and they were lightweight. So, they were kind of big, but they were lightweight, and she wears them around. And I don't know. Actually, I think she's looking for them the other day because she thinks they fell under the couch or something. But anyway, it's about the red hand and this movement, if you will. Spooky. Just checking the chat real quick, guys. See what I miss. Pam's remembering things from last night's chat that I'm afraid I've already burned out of my memory. Garrett said something. Any pretty face hits the news. It's really, it is. I mean, it is. It is because so many others get neglected, and I think a lot of people realize that, but a lot of people don't talk about it. And then when it does get talked about, it doesn't seem to carry a lot of weight or for a very long period of time. And like I was talking about, the red hand over the mouth is the symbol of a movement, and that's the MMIW, missing and murdered Indigenous women. The really sad part about, you can't, again, bear with me. I mean, we may talk about other cases later or next week, but what really bothers me is how many of these women go missing or never found or ever talked about again, except amongst their family, I guess. But they just get forgotten, and it's all over and done with. And I also want to put a caveat here. I've talked about this with people before, and one of the comments I get is, yeah, but it ain't just white people. Indian crime or missing women is also a problem. And I agree, that is a problem. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it is a problem, not necessarily just white or not white. I thought this was another interesting point, and I've read this too. How many Native Americans don't live on reservations in this country, at least, and they go back to the Indian Relocation Act and other federal policies, aka treaties that we've written with the Native Americans over the years. Now, only 22%. Let me read that correctly. Do not live on tribal lands or reservations. Only 22%. When someone goes missing, that there's only 22%, I think, live on the reservations, and the rest of them are scattered around the country. So they get less attention, I guess, is the key there. They're not, if they're on the reservation, there is at least some possibility that the native police, the tribal police, the reservation police can get involved and help. But once they're out of that, then they're just kind of at the mercy of everybody, whatever police forces and FBI or whatever, just like the rest of us. But let me see what else. I had another point there. And, we don't, again, it's something else we don't talk about a lot, but most Native Americans live under the poverty line. And that's been a common issue for a long, long time. And again, the poorer we are, it seems like the less likely we are to get a lot of attention. And of course, there are statistics out for this kind of thing. They surveyed 71 cities. This is again back in 2016. And let me see here. Here's one of those numbers I was given a minute ago. Of 71 cities, Native American women made up a significant portion of the missing and murder cases. Not only is murder rate 10 times higher than the national average for women. God, I apologize, guys, I can't talk tonight. And that's living on reservation. But murder is the third leading cause of death for Native women. And this is the startling thing is Native people only make up 2% of the U.S. population. And that's men and women. So that's a pretty high number. And that they're also mentioning down here that the youngest missing was a baby less than a year old, and the oldest victim was an 83-year-old that they never found. Okay, let's catch up here. I don't want to seem Pam's sister here. I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that. That's kind of counteractive, or that's not the right word. That's the Tim word. But Pam, that if they're worried about internal bleeding, I guess they're trying to figure out which one's worse. If she's got an issue with blood clots, and then colonoscopy, or not colonoscopy. I guess they're giving her the thinner for that, but you'd think if there's an internal bleeding problem, they'd be a little bit concerned about that. That would be kind of hard to deal with. Yeah, everybody think about Pam and her family, or her sister, and hope that they find something, Pam, and that turns out for the better. Pam, where is she at? What part of the country? Okay, I'll get back over here, but I'm going to watch for that if she mentions that. The only reason I'm asking that is just, what hospital, or, I mean, let's face it, some hospitals are just better than others. Oh, she's in Michigan. Okay. I don't remember exactly what this illustration was supposed to be about, but there's numbers there: 98, 280, and 128. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to go to another page and look at this that part. Maybe I'll do that later. And of course, it's just like everything. Education is one of the first things that needs to happen, and then you can start trying to make change and prevention, and that goes for everyone. And there's 2 days now for that not celebrate this. This is not something to celebrate, but missing Women's Day, or Native Women, and that's May 5th, and that's the official day. But they're in the USA and Canada, but there's also a second day. I didn't know this, Mike and Diana, but they say the largest march for this is in Vancouver, BC. Oh, there is a click on button here. Let's see, the Memorial March annual event that's on February 14th. So there's something else you can do for Valentine's Day. It's in remembrance and in honor of the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women. So if you didn't know about that, there's something to look for if you're looking for if you want a cause, or you want to go march, or you want to do something on Valentine's Day besides, support Hallmark and buy red roses, then there you go. And of course, it's not just women; it's men and boys too. And that goes for all races. I mean, it's just that women seem to be I don't know how to say that when it doesn't sound horrible. I mean, there's nothing about this that sounds good. Well, how do you put that? I just think there's more women than men. And they're talking about surveys here show that 82% of indigenous men are victims of violence in their lifetime. And children are more likely to experience trauma and abuse, that's in their own homes, I'm going to assume now. It used to happen at the hands of boarding schools and things like that are a whole nother topic too, where the children, were taken from the tribes and their homes and their reservations and sent off to mostly Catholic run boarding schools and kind of reprocessed or indoctrinated to be more white, to cut their hair, don't speak their language, speak English or French or whichever it was, and that kind of stuff. And which was a huge, I think, a huge disgrace on our part, but certainly it wasn't right for them. We wouldn't like it if they took us away and did that. But yes, it is, Mike. You're right. It's much more women than men. And let's see here. And I've heard this a lot actually, that when they are reported or somebody talks about them, they're often stereotyped as lazy drug addicts and alcoholics, and they're just out there living on the government dole. And wow, do I think that's unfair? I mean, that's just I don't know. That's hard to talk about. I thought my personal beliefs and such. I really thought this was an interesting paragraph right here, that they talk about the history of Native American women, especially the sexual colonization of Native peoples. And this lady has written, and her name's Smith. She explored the connection between sexual violence and colonialism in the lives of Native people in the U.S. And she said that natives were often viewed as dirty, and that's dirty as in the naughty sort of perspective, for their lack of clothing, which in the minds of the colonists made them polluted and sexual sin. And they were seen as less than human, therefore rapeable. And not much was ever done about it. And that same thing held for blacks and other racial ethnicities or other, did I say that right? Which is just, again, in this country, that nobody should have to worry about something like that. It's ridiculous. That's not what I mean. That's not what, to me, American freedom means. That's not what it means to live in the U.S. of A. And yet it is our truth. And we have to speak to that truth at some point. Oftentimes, as is the case in this country too, for all race, women tend to lead the charge in things like this, which is kind of ironic since they're the ones that's I mean, you'd think somebody else would help come to their call. I don't know much about this representative. She's been working on some things in New Mexico, but I don't know. And she may be running for office this year. I'm not sure. And they recognize there's a lot of domestic abuse and domestic problems that cause this too. But I mean, they're not, like I said, they're not saying they don't. But there is way too much of it that gets off the res, if you will. And this is a pretty good little video. I mean, if you are interested in this topic, I highly recommend you go to this website and check out some of their videos. These videos were made for YouTube to be sent out. I mean, for people to get more information about what's going on and what they're concerned about and what they're talking about. And it's they're pretty well done. So Brenda's earrings look much like this young lady's mask. or bandana. So I'm running through these last couple of this last bit of this, and oh, you want to take a quiz? Anybody want to take a quiz? Let's see what the quiz is. How much do you know about missing and murdered Indigenous women? Oh, number one, in blank, Native Americans live in poverty. Oh, 1 in. I'm going to say at least 1 in 10. 4 out of blank Native American women are affected by violence. Fill in the blank. Ooh. 4 out of 7, maybe 4 out of 5. 9? You think it's 9? Murder is the blank leading cause of death among Native American women. Oh, I just read that. Now I can't remember which one it was. I'm going to say second, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's right. I don't think it was 1. I don't think it was the first, but it might be. According to the Department of Justice, for women living on reservations, the murder rate is blank times higher than the national average. Let's say 5. Anybody else got a guess? Hey, Arvin to Disney, welcome. 2016, how many reports of missing American women and Alaska Native women and girls were there? I believe it's 5,712. That does stick in my mind. And what is the median age for missing and murdered M and MIW women or girls, women and girls? It's probably 16. What is the age of the youngest victim? Less than a year old. And the oldest one was 83. I do remember that much. And I'm not going to fill that out right now. Maybe I can't get the answers. All right, I'll put my name in there. I'd like to get some more information anyway. Let's see if they gave us answers. 1 and 4 was the answer to number 1. What did you say, Garrett? I don't remember. 16. But it's 1 and 4 is the median household income for those living on the reservation is $11,000 to $29,000. That's pretty low. And less than over 20% make less than $5,000 a year. 4 out of 5 Native American women are affected by violence. I think I did 7, so I was low. I was low on that one. I thought it might be 4 or 5, but I just wasn't sure. Murder is the third leading cause of death among Native American women, according to the Department of Justice for women living on the reservation. The murder rate is 10 times higher than the national average. That's pretty bad, guys. In 2016, there were 5,712 reports. 29 is the median age, so I was low on that. And the youngest was under 1, and the oldest one was 83. So anyway, that's just something. If you are interested in the topic, by all means, check out that web page. And there's other websites, and there are people on like Etsy and that are involved in that movement or are trying to help support that movement. And it's a sad situation. But, like I said, it's a sad thing for any situation. I believe the numbers for all all kidnaps. Well, hang on a minute. I think I've got that here too. 2021, the number of missing persons under the age of 21 was much higher than those of 21 and over, with 194,673 females under 21 reported missing. Now that's, Michelle, that's why you got to look behind you. And 62,552 females were over the age of 21. So again, that by and large, it happens to younger women. That's American. Yes, that's American funds, Mike. It didn't specify, but I'm pretty sure it did. Like I said, they talked about Canada, but most of the numbers I saw were Canada or the U.S. and Alaska. Well, I think it was the U.S. and Alaska, but maybe it was all three. It should be, but anyway, it's just it is a bad problem. And there's a lot of information about Indigenous women, but in women in general. I mean, the number of women that disappear in this country to me is alarming, and a lot of them don't make it back home. Some of them just disappear, and maybe they're out in another country. Maybe that's where we got groups like Garrett was talking about. Maybe that's where they go to help find people. And I think from what I've heard and known locally from living in this part of the South all my life, any woman of color, be it Native American or Black or Hispanic, I mean, they don't seem to get the same kind of action that you get from other white Americans. And it is an issue. The news is kind of obviously tilted that way, or it's at least it seems like they are. Yeah, Garrett, they are. Some report that's right. You can't. It's not all just other people doing it to them. You're right. It can be something. It very well could be life choices, and I'm sure all that stuff is involved. Everything from prostitution to drugs to alcohol. And from what I've seen, Carol said, from what she's seen, people tend to turn their heads when they can label people as other. Yeah, and that's the truth. And another sad fact about how different we look at people in this country, I think. Mike said, I had to take a semester at work regarding truth and reconciliation. Mike, I would like to know more about that. I would like to know what Canada did or is doing, and if that's an ongoing thing or if that's a one and done, because I find that process interesting. I'd really like to know more about that. I think that's another good point too, Carol. And I think that's something that has always made me mad. And that's that women they can turn to prostitution for a lot of reasons. And some of them are coerced and forced into it by men. And I guess we don't want to take the blame for it, so we blame it on them. Oh, they got into drinking, so they turned to prostitution. They got into drugs. It gets blamed on a lot of that stuff. When in many cases, I don't think they can they get into a place or are forced into a place where they can't help it. I'm be willing to bet most of them don't go down the path of hoping they grow up to be, prostitutes. Let me put that up here for Mike. Hang on just a minute. Oh, okay. So it's not like an official process, but they are making people aware of it. I wish they'd do that. I honestly believe I wish they would do that here. And Diana says, yes, Carol, 100%. We need to stop looking at people as other. People don't need to be others. They just need to be people. I'm sorry, but whether they be white or native skin or black or brown or gay, or while it's frustrating sometimes when they have multiple pronouns, they still deserve to be treated as people. They don't deserve to be treated as other. And that's a huge topic, and we can't cover all that in one night or at one time, but um, it's sad to me. And it starts with how they are raised. Poor choices are made. I think you meant very rarely do you hear the girls being seized from good parenting. I don't know about that. I might argue that point, Garrett. Are you saying from good homes? If they come from a good home, they don't get seized? Because I don't know that I believe that. I think I don't know. I don't think it's that rare. Maybe when you look at all the numbers, but I don't think it's an only. It's just I think those that are raised that way are easier prey. Now that I would agree. The healing process is going to take years for our First Nations. Yeah, and you guys treated them better than we did by and large. So I don't know if it'll ever get better down here. So the question is, how do you influence the children with poor parenting and parenting to be better? Now that's a good question. Well, and I think if one community watches out for the other community, again, from a racial perspective, that would help too. Do people really try to pay attention? And Garrett has read and watched stuff on this subject, I'm going to guess that meant. And the reason I did the research was to understand how to protect my own daughter. Well, that makes sense. It would almost be interesting too to look at it from that probably wouldn't be fair. Well, if you adjusted it for population numbers, to me it would be interesting to know if it's primarily just a big city thing or if it happens all around the country in equal per capita percentages, or if I suspect it's always going to be higher in large populations, but I think that's a good point too, Carol. The kids are the ones that pay the price, or often pay the price, or especially young girls and the like, and they really don't always have the say in how they're raised. Yeah, Carol, I would like to hear more of your input on that because you deal with kids a lot more than some of us. I know Garrett has worked with, I think, abused people and maybe children. I'm not sure about that, but I would like to hear your perspective on that, because to me, you're down in the trenches. I've got anything on Instagram since I'm looking. Let's see. I've skipped several things here. Let me get down caught up now. We're on this girls and women who are making poor choices. Wow. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I had a strange alert there. I'm trying to figure out what the heck it was. Oh well, sorry about that, folks. I apologize. And let me see where I'm at now. Yeah, I was on this Garrett. That's poor. Yeah, there are some very bad people out there. There's no doubt about that. I have to go. I'm trying to go back and think about something. Let me see what Carol says first. Yeah, I think that's a real problem too, Carol. I think that trust has been broken too often in the past for whatever reasons, and I think that's going to always be hard to get back or to build back. That's trial once lost trust is very difficult to rebuild. I think I understand what you mean, Garrett. I don't think we can always blame it on the parents or the students. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it's just bad people grabbing kids. I mean, is it a bad parenting or a bad choice for a kid that walks to school to be walking to class every day or walking to her school and getting ripped off or getting grabbed off the streets? I mean, would you call that bad parenting? I mean, when I grew up, a lot of kids walked to school, including myself, and most of us going in at least walked alone. Um, if one of us got grabbed off the highway or got grabbed off the street, would that be, I mean, is that our fault? Is that our parents' fault? I mean, some people couldn't take their kids to school all the time, and sometimes they didn't want to be taken to school. I mean, I like to walk to school, so I don't know. I mean, again, I'm a male, so that made me less likely to get grabbed. Oh no, I don't think we do. I mean, that's the old nobody wants to get involved thing, Garrett. I agree with that, but honestly, it can happen so fast that I don't know if the community. We're all so busy. I mean, people are just coming and going and coming and going, and you see and hear that all the time. Somebody gets grabbed off the street, and there was nobody around paying attention to see who did it. And I don't know if that's all just not watching out for us, or if that's. I think people aren't very observant these days, so maybe they really don't see it. But I don't know. I mean, I do get your point, and I think that it's true to some extent. Well, that's true, Carol. And you can only do your best when you have them. You can't once they're gone. Um, Once they're gone from your care, then you don't have anything to say. And I think that haunts a lot. I actually think that haunts a lot of teachers and caregivers. No, you can't, Garrett. I don't disagree with that. Although you'd think that's what we're trying to do here, but well, good point. Oh, I've known a few. I've known a few of them in my life. I think, but maybe not for sure. But I think I've been pretty close to some of them. Hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Garrett. I'm trying to think exactly how you go about that. Is that school or is that at home or both? Let's see what Carol said too. I spend more time with these kids than anyone. That's probably true too. I missed Diana's comment. Did she make a comment about? Oh, not in the schools. The Indigenous elders. Okay, yeah, I see that. And Garrett said, "Do I go out and party?" I think he means and party. Do I dress a certain way that attracts a lot of attention? Do I go on the internet without any accountability? I don't know. Do you? You have to tell us. I don't. I don't check on you. I think that's a good point too, Carol. And I also think I am going to say this. I think it's. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's right to blame women all the time just because they dress what we think is inappropriately. I mean, should women have to worry about being taken or raped or injured because of how they dress, or should they be able to be free and unafraid of that? And yes, maybe they need to dress more responsibly, but just because they aren't doesn't give anybody the right to harm them. Oh, I think the internet. Yes, I agree there 100%, Garrett. I do agree. there's a lot of predators on the internet, and there still are, and you'd think there wouldn't be. I mean, we talk about it in places, and they try to warn people, but it still happens every day. Well, that is definitely bad parenting there. 16-year-olds should not go to spring break. True, Garrett. Well, and back to Garrett's what he said there. If society was good, it wouldn't matter, and that's right. But it should be. I don't know. That's where we need to shoot. I guess that's where we need to strive for. The world isn't like that, Garrett. I agree, but that doesn't mean we can't try to make it better. I mean, well, I'm not going to go down that road, but whether we think it's better or worse, we still have to. I think we have to do our best to try to make it better. I think everybody in their own place can change at least one person, or maybe can try. And if you do more than that, it's gravy. And if you do even more than that, it's even better. I personally don't think that's necessarily in the form of religion or politics or um, I don't know what else, individual cultures, like I can't think of the word, like where you come from and that kind of thing. But I think we all have to play a role. I'm not sure you telling me I can't have it both ways. I can if I want to. It's my show. Um, no, that's true, Garrett. It doesn't. Yeah, I just saw that, Garrett. That was just last week, I think. Well, I don't know how to answer that one, but I'd have to. I think saying that they were too busy, everybody was too busy partying. I don't know. I mean, is that surely they weren't everybody on the campus wasn't partying, but if there wasn't anything going on as they walked back to wherever he took her, then there may not have been a reason to suspect. But if she started yelling and screaming and he forced her into a car, or I don't remember what he did exactly. I know what happened, And I know his father was involved, but I don't know all the details. So, I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that. Well, I think that's true, and I think in some cases that is true. Was that the guy that was in school with her, Garrett? And I don't know where you go with that. I mean, I think when we grew up, or at least some of us are older, we grew up, and that wasn't necessarily where we were all going. And maybe we did look out for each other, but there were still creeps around. I mean, I do know that, and I'm not taking up for them. I'm just saying they existed. You just have to do your best to watch out for them and try to help if you can. I think that's a good point too, Carol. Okay, everybody take a deep breath. Remember the room rules. Nobody goes away mad now. Or if you do, you can't, no harm. Well, you know what, Garrett, in some ways I am being the devil's advocate because that's kind of that's kind of where I'm at here. I have to try to stay in the middle. I know you're not. I can get too emotionally involved in one side, and then somebody else is going to feel like I'm against them, or not, and that's I want this show, I want this time to be about honest, open, and legitimate discussion, not where I'm just telling everybody where to go with it. Oh, I'm just asking for suggestions. I don't know the solutions to any of it, or even asking for them. I mean, I realize that what I'm talking about is just ideas. I think the sky's blue too, Garrett. Oh, that's cool, Carol. It is nice to see some of it come back around. I'm not going to tell you it's not blue because I know it's blue. I'm not going to disagree with that. Even if I tell Brenda later it's not blue, it's purple. Oh, Cherie's leaving. Good night, Cherie. Have a good day tomorrow. Carol, Carol threw down the gauntlet. It probably does, Garrett. Actually, you're probably right. If you look at the how light breaks and light in the prism and how it refracts and reflects, and I'm sure it does. Oh, thank you, Pam. You know, I wanted to do this evening chat to try to talk about things that people can't seem to talk about today. And even in doing that, I still avoid politics and religion as by and large. And it's hard. I mean, it is hard not to want to try to push towards some kind of an agreement or And that's one of the problems with the world today, because we don't want to do that, or we say we don't. We get into a crowd that wants it one way and not the other way, or this way and not that way, um, and it's very frustrating. So while I've done this to try to get people to talk to each other, and it's hard. I mean, I agree, it's a hard thing to do sometimes. And we're all sitting in our offices or living rooms or bedrooms or kitchens or wherever around the country, maybe in your car, and it's just like it's easy to, I hate to, this is probably not a good example, but lie to somebody and catfish them or try to do harm. It's just as easy to sit here and argue the point, or not come across something, not work out something, or it could be just as easy to all agree and then leave and maybe not. But that's Carol saying, "Hey, Brenda gets to tell you this guy's any color, and you will not argue if you know what's good for you." I don't know if she's even in here. I think she might have gotten occupied with something else. But you're absolutely correct, Carol. If she tells me it's black and blue and red spotted, I'll agree with her. And Carol said, "Okay, Tim said religion. Now I'm on your team, Garrett." Well, okay, Carol, you just be that way. Well, that's a good point, Garrett. Boy, Carol, you sure do flip flop a lot. And Pam says people have been taught to mind their own business and look away. A lot of people think snitches get stitches, so they protect themselves and don't get involved. There's some truth in that too. I mean, growing up, how many times were you told not to eavesdrop, or not to interfere, or not to get involved in something that wasn't your business? And there's a lot of things that's true about, but there are some things that, quite possibly aren't. Well, that's what I hoped we could do, Carol, and so far I guess we are. I think we are. I mean, we're international even. We've got Canadian folks, right, Mike and Diana, eh? Man, I tell you what, amount of coffee. I'll have to resort to something else. Pardon my French, Garrett, but you're damn right she gets a lot of respect. She's put up with me for a long time. 50, 51 years or so now. Eh? Well, you got a good point there, Garrett. Thank you, Mike. I think that's Garrett. I'm not sure if Garrett's trying to start something or trying to just, stay in the middle. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt in my. I mean, let's be honest here. I think even in the household where the men think they rule supreme, everybody knows they don't. I mean, if you got a wife, and if you're not beating her and locking her up in some dark chamber, and especially if you've got daughters that go that, and because they're always going to, well, mostly at least, team up. You men don't really have a good chance. Carol says that she's a wild card. Well, Carol, I actually fit that on a lot of subjects. I've often tried to say I look for I look for things on both sides that try to make sense to me, and I will readily agree that I used to be better at that than I am now. I'm guilty of the saying my side's right, your side's wrong at times as much as anybody, but I try not to. And I'm in. I guess I'm kind of in the same boat. Maybe that's why I don't have a lot of friends either. And I'll be honest, I can avoid some. Diane said, maybe it should be the other way around, Garrett. You haven't met me yet. No. Garrett, I'm glad you think that. I appreciate that. That's a good thing. Pam says that she agrees with Garrett and Carol. It's nice we can all discuss the tough issues and not get heated over them and still come together and share a laugh. That's true. And this may seem like an odd subject or an out there kind of subject, but I think it's an important one. But Alexander seems to be cool, so I figured it was from you, Diana. I'm pretty sure Diana can beat you up too, Garrett. She has managed to keep Mike in line all these years. Yeah, I'll tell you something else. I've seen pictures, at least, of Carol's kids. I'd say she can hold her own too. You just hadn't been to our coffee shops, Garrett. Come back here and let's go have a cup. Oh, you'd probably blend right in. Well, folks, got just a few more minutes. If anybody's got a last thing they would like to say or not say, and I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week. It will probably be one of those topics I mentioned earlier. As we do you, Carol. I don't know if I'm the only one in here that's ever met Carol, but I will tell you all from my experience, I believe I would stand by her any day. You feel they would keep asking me if I speak good English. They might do it, Garrett. They just might do it. Don't embarrass yourself, Garrett. Just don't say anything about me. Yeah, Pam, I didn't realize you lived up in Mistigander. We used to have some more Michigan people. I know Dave Cantrell's was from there, and he's moved. He's in Florida, and of course, Lynn from the Lynn Project, she was from up there. So, do you guys? Let me ask you guys this, because this is something we used to kid Lynn about a lot. Do you guys all eat ranch dressing on everything? I'm talking the Michiganders or Michigese in this case. And Shelley, that's right, and Shelley. Oh, Tim Rimple came from Michigan. I didn't know that. He doesn't live there now, though, does he? Lynn was the stereotypical person that wanted side of ranch on everything. You hate ranch. It is smelly. Uh-oh. So far, Carol, you're the odd man out for that up there. More sunshine, please, aka Jim comes from Michigan. Oh, wow. But he lives in Florida now, though, doesn't he, Pam? I think. So we have. It's interesting. You say that there's a lot of Michigan folks that do move to Florida. There's a lot of them move here. And I used to work with some from time to time that would be trying to buy property or something around the lake. And I'd be involved in their permitting or processing and that sort of thing. And they were sometimes from Michigan who had gone to Florida and come back to Tennessee because they wanted try to get some in between kind of climate or whatever. And, we'd call those halfbacks. They go down and come halfway back. Uh-oh, we're going to have a ranch standoff and Detroit Disney duo. I don't know if I know them. Surely I do, or surely I've seen them. Well, guys, it's 8:45. I'm going to start winding down. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm sorry about not being here a lot lately. Hey, Dave, welcome in. And Dave's in Georgia. Well, I don't know if he's in Georgia. He's from Georgia. And Dave and I might get to meet here in a couple of weeks. He's going to be up our way. If anybody else is going to be in Gatlinburg, let me know. I don't know. I was just having my own little mental crisis. I just couldn't make up my mind about some things and just couldn't find my bootstraps to pull myself up by, I guess. But I'm going to try to do better in the future. I need to, everybody but Garrett can get in on this, and that's talk about time. Have I seen Wind River, Garrett? Yes, I have. That is why Jim wears wait a minute. Garrett, that's why Jim wears a Wayne State University shirt often. That school is in Detroit. It's where Casey Kasem went. Well, there's something to be proud of now. Where is Wayne State? See, did I like it? Yeah, I guess I did. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, there's different ways to, I guess, think about that. And like I had said, disclaimer I had before, to me, this topic tonight wasn't new because there's shows on about it or movies on about it. This is something I've been reading about and talking with other people about for quite a few years now. And it just haven't talked about it anywhere in here or something, or thought of it as a topic. I used to listen to a lot of National Public Radio, and I don't so much now because I'm not in the car much at that time of day. And I think many years ago, I heard a story about this issue, and it's been several years ago. I'm not sure if it's been more than 10. And that's when I got interested in this subject. And ever since then, I've tried to kind of keep my ears open. Sadly, I will say that I've not gotten it near as involved in it as I would like to. I think there's more work to be done. I don't know. I just think so. Is Jim still in Detroit or Michigan? No, Garrett, he moved to Florida to get more sunshine. Get that, Garrett? See what she did there? So, Pamela, let me make sure I understand something. Is Garrett Bing Bong? Because that kind of fits, if you want to be honest. A strange thing about having numb, when your legs go numb or they are numb, or, you pinch spinal cords and weird things happen. You get some of the strangest sensations sometimes. And every once in a while, I'll get this little dig in one of my legs or a knee or muscle that just feels like somebody's putting a corkscrew in there or something, and then it just goes away. Yes, there is, Mike. Yes, there is. And on a lot of different things. This certainly isn't the only thing. Yes, because he always hiding, so I said he was my imaginary friend. I like that, Pam. That's excellent. That's most excellent. Yeah, Garrett's kind of all of our imaginary friend. The only thing you ever see is supposedly his back, and But I suppose that Garrett will always remain the enigma in the group. He'll always be a mystery. You brought something up. We are all busy, so how do you solve the problem? I don't know. I don't know. You work on it by talking about it. I think. I don't know if you get. I would like to think we get to solve some of them. Not necessarily just us, but I mean people in general. And you got to figure out what your level of solve is. Now, when it comes to missing persons and death and killing and those kind of things, I don't think there is I think ultimately there's only one good way for that to turn out. There are things, though, that can be compromised, and that's not always a bad thing. In fact, I think it's probably a good thing. We sure have forgotten how to do it. Okay, Pam. Well, I like Bing Bong, though. That's good for you. I like the fact that he's your imaginary friend. I've never thought about it that way. That makes sense. I have a feeling if it's important enough, we find time. Well, it could be. We have to grasp that important thing, Garrett. I think. Now, I will say this is my opinion. There are so many distractions in life, especially these days, and so much more going on that it's easy not to grab onto that one thing and try to make a difference. But if you can, then by all means, we should try to go for it. But that is part of it. I mean, well, I actually thought it was just Garrett and Gabe, and his voice just changed when he was over there at the microphone. Well, that's a good point too, Garrett. And how do you catch a cloud? How do you, wait a minute, and how do you catch a cloud and pin it down? That's next week's assignment, Carol. Yeah, don't disagree with that. But I never said I did. I don't think. All right. I'm going to let everybody go. Hopefully, some of you will get to go over and see Dean. And I'm going to try to pop in, at least say hi. I'm about out of voice. And I didn't get to finish my dinner, so I may actually go do that too. And because I ran out of time. Oh, well, see, that tells you about. I've watched that, I think, maybe one time all the way through, and I don't remember everything. I know bits and pieces from it. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Mark. He and I'll talk, and he can quote more movies, and he has more quotes from movies and things like that than anybody I know, I believe. He went years without a TV, I mean, no cable or anything like that. So he watched DVDs, and sometimes he didn't have new DVDs, so he watched the old ones, and if he really liked them, he watched them a lot, and he can quote from them from just about anything on any subject, I think. Garrett, that's not nice. The Braves aren't doing anything. They're out. I guess that's your point. Yeah, you better step back. All right, Mike, thanks for coming in, buddy. I hope you feel better soon. And Mark going to be on. He's supposed to be, Mike, if he don't have snow on his dish. And he was actually out of internet or anything for about 4 or 5 days last week and during the weekend. I didn't hear from him. He didn't have a phone. His computer wasn't working. He had somebody come out and worked on it, I think. And he just hasn't had much of anything happen that went right the last couple of weeks. But right now he seems to be working, and he's going to. I talked to him today for a while. And he's planning on being there. I think we might have a really fun topic to talk about, so I hope I see you there. And if we do, we have questions for you, Mike. He's throwing shade, Dave, but I don't, and honestly, I don't know for sure. I mean, that's pretty serious talk because he's throwing trash. He's talking trash is what he's doing. Oh, I'll have to watch that too. I hadn't seen that. Carol, thanks for posting the links. And I saw something else that I now have missed, but here we go. Well, maybe I don't know. Well, Mike, give me a call sometime when you feel like talking, buddy. If you're off that long. Oh, Tim did a moose knock down Mark's antenna. He sent me. It might have, Mike, and since you brought that up, I will tell one more story on him. He sent me a picture a little while ago, and I don't know if I can pull it up so you can see it or not. Let me see if I can. And now he's got another problem. Somebody else's cattle have moved on to his place. I don't know if you can see that. You won't be able to see it very well, I'm sure, but you try to get the angle better. That's really hard to do. Anyway, there's a big Angus bull down there at the end of his driveway, and his question to me was to butcher or not to butcher. That is the question. So he's got somebody's cattle are running loose on his. It's funny how Westerners say he's down there eating my hay. That damn cow's eating my grass, or that moose is chewing up all my alfalfa. Go Stros. Yeah, but the mooses have been back. They've been down there a lot lately too. They hadn't gone away. He just hasn't had one in the yard in a few days. But he did have the game warden up there again, so they've discussed that. And that moose charges one more. They had company. They did have company, Mike. You'll like this before you go. They had company, and the people were walking in or out of the house one morning. He's had a lot of company lately. And the moose was out there and made some ugly charges or gave him a bad look or something. And he had to explain about the moose and tell them that if you're going to come out in the country and visit, you've got to look both ways before you cross the yard because there might be a moose coming. And ever since Bullwinkle the Moose, I have what? Hey, Francisco. We're getting ready to leave, I'm afraid. I want a moose. Ever since Bullwinkle the moose, you love moose. Okay, I'm off to see the Wizard, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for being here. Love y'all. See y'all again soon. Next week, we'll be back here at the same time. Try to keep that steady now for a while, and hopefully see some of you on Saturday. I'm not going to tell the topic yet. I think I know what it's going to be. Well, I've got 2 or 3 topics, but I've got one in particular that I think is going to be fun Saturday. I think it'll fit right in for Saturday morning viewing. Think about that, and see you next time. Bye all.